My name is Lisa. I am 28 years old. This story happened 3 years ago. I was happy at that time. I had a job and some good friends. I was not rich, but I was okay. One day, I went to fix my phone at a small shop. That is where I met Mark. He was fixing phones and laptops. He smiled at me and asked how my day was. I said I was fine. He talked to me while fixing my phone. I liked his voice. He gave me his number and told me to call if I needed help. That evening, I called him. Mark and I started talking every day. He asked about my life. I asked about his. We found many things in common. After 2 weeks, we went for a walk. We talked for 2 hours. He said he lived alone. He said his parents were in another city. I felt safe with him. I started to like him more. Soon, we began to date. He came to my house, and I went to his. We watched movies and cooked dinner together. Mark was kind and always made me laugh. He did not have much money, but I did not care. I was happy with him. After 6 months, he asked me to move in. I said yes. I left my small flat and moved to his place. It was not big, but it was clean. We shared rent and food. We made plans for the future. I thought we were building a life together. For the first few months, life was good. We went to the park. We made dinner together. He told me jokes, and I laughed a lot. I thought I had found the man I would spend my life with. I felt lucky, but slowly, things started to change. Mark came home late. He said he was tired from work. He stopped smiling. He did not ask how my day was. He looked at his phone more than he looked at me. I asked him what was wrong. He said nothing was wrong, but I could feel the distance. He was there, but not really with me. One morning, I felt sick. I went to the bathroom and threw up. I thought maybe it was food, but I felt sick the next day too. And again the day after that. I started to worry. So I bought a test and used it at home. The result was clear. I was pregnant. I sat on the bed and cried. I was scared, but a small part of me was happy too. I wanted to tell Mark. That evening, I waited for him to come home. When he walked in, I said, "We need to talk." He looked tired. I told him, "I'm pregnant." He looked at me and said nothing. He sat on the chair and put his head in his hands. I waited. After a long time, he said, "Are you sure?" I said yes. He stood up and walked around the room. Then he said, "I can't do this." I didn't understand. I said, "We can take care of the baby. We will find a way." He shook his head. "I am not ready," he said. "I never wanted this." I felt like my heart stopped. I said, "You don't want the baby?" He looked at me and said, "I don't want this life. I need time to think." He picked up his jacket and left. I waited the whole night, but he didn't come back. I called him, but he didn't answer. I sent him messages. After 5 days, he sent one text. It said, "I'm sorry. This is not what I want." Then he blocked me. He was gone. I cried every day. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I kept touching my stomach. I talked to the baby inside me. I said, "I'm here. I will take care of you." I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my friends. I was ashamed. I was afraid they would judge me. I was alone. But I had to be strong. I had to work. I had to eat. I had to sleep. I started to take care of myself again. I found a small room to rent. It had one bed and a small kitchen. I moved there and started over. I went to the doctor alone. I heard my baby's heartbeat for the first time. I saw the baby on the screen. I cried, but I also smiled. I said, "I will never leave you." I worked every day. I came home tired, but I did not stop. I saved money. I bought baby clothes. I read about pregnancy and birth. I stayed strong, even when I wanted to cry. People looked at me in the street. Some looked with pity, some with judgment. But I kept my head high. This baby was mine, and I was not going to give up. As the months passed, my belly grew, my back hurt, my legs were heavy, but I kept working. I had no car, so I walked to work. Some days it rained and I got wet. Some days I was too tired to stand, but I kept going. I still thought about Mark. I wondered if he missed me. I wondered if he thought about the baby. But he never came back. He never called. He never sent money. He left us. That was his choice. And now I had to choose mine. One night I felt strong pain. I knew it was time. I called a taxi and went to the hospital. The nurse helped me to the bed. The pain was strong. I cried and held the bed. After many hours, I heard the baby cry. It was a boy. The nurse gave him to me. He was small and warm. I held him close. I looked at his face and said, "Hello, baby." I named him Daniel. I kissed his soft cheek. I said, "You are safe now. I will never leave you." I was tired, but I was full of love. In that moment, I forgot the pain. I forgot the sadness. I only saw Daniel. He was my son, my little boy, my family. I was not alone anymore. I was a mother. And I knew one thing very clearly. I would do anything for him. The first few days after Daniel was born were not easy. I was so tired. I didn't sleep much. Daniel cried at night, and I had to wake up to feed him. But I didn't mind. I loved him so much. I knew I had to take care of him. I had to be strong for him. The hospital gave me medicine for the pain, but it didn't help much. My body felt tired, and my mind was tired too. But every time I looked at Daniel, I felt better. His small hands, his little feet, his soft face. I knew I had to give him the best life I could. I went home after 3 days. My room was small. There was not much space for Daniel to play, but I made it work. I put him in a small crib. I set up his clothes and toys. I tried to make it feel like a home for him. I wanted him to feel safe and loved. At first, it was hard. I had no money. I had to pay for the rent and buy food. I didn't have a job yet, so I didn't know how I would pay for everything. But I didn't want to ask Mark for help. He left us. I didn't want anything from him. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. I started looking for a job. I looked online, and I asked my friends. It wasn't easy. There were many jobs, but they didn't pay much. I needed something that could help me take care of Daniel. I wanted to give him a good life. I didn't want him to feel like I did when I was a child. I wanted him to have everything he needed. I found a job at a small store. It was not much, but it was enough. The store was close to my house, and I could walk there. I worked in the afternoons and evenings. I sold small things like food and drinks. It was hard at first, but I was happy. I knew I was doing it for Daniel. Every day I would work, and then I would come home to take care of him. Sometimes I felt very tired. I didn't have much sleep, but I never complained. I loved Daniel, and I knew I had to give him my best. A few months later, I started to feel better. Daniel grew bigger. He smiled more. He laughed. He started to crawl. I was so proud of him. I saw his little face and thought about how much I loved him. I couldn't believe he was mine. He was my son, my family. Sometimes I would go to the park with him. I would push him in his stroller. He loved looking at the trees and the people walking around. I loved the sound of his little laughs. It made everything better. I still thought about Mark sometimes. I wondered what he was doing. Did he ever think about me? Did he ever think about Daniel? But I stopped asking those questions. I couldn't waste my time on him anymore. He made his choice. I made mine. I had Daniel. And that was all that mattered now. One day, Mark called me. I was surprised to hear his voice. I didn't want to talk to him, but I answered the phone. "Lisa," he said, "I've been thinking about you and about Daniel." I didn't know what to say. "What do you want, Mark?" I asked. "I'm sorry," he said. "I made a mistake. I shouldn't have left you. I want to be part of Daniel's life." I felt angry. "You left us," I said. "You didn't care about us when we needed you. Now you want to come back?" He said, "I know. I was wrong, but I want to help you. I want to be a father to Daniel." I was quiet for a moment. I thought about it. I remembered all the pain he caused me, but I didn't want to be angry. I had Daniel. I had a good life now. I didn't need Mark to make things better. "No, Mark," I said. "I'm not asking you to come back. Daniel is doing fine without you." He didn't say anything. I heard him breathe deeply. "I understand," he said quietly. "But I will always be here if you need me." I didn't answer. I just hung up the phone. I looked at Daniel. He was asleep in his crib. I smiled. I knew I had made the right choice. I didn't need Mark. I had everything I needed with Daniel. The next few months were better. I worked hard and I saved money. I bought some new clothes for Daniel. I found a small daycare center where I could leave him when I went to work. I made sure he was safe and happy. I still didn't have much money, but I didn't care. I was happy. I was a mother. I was strong. I didn't need anyone to help me. I was enough for Daniel. I knew that no matter what, I would always be there for him. I would do everything I could to make sure he had the best life possible. One day, when Daniel was a year old, I was sitting in the park with him. He was playing with a small toy. I watched him and smiled. I thought about how far I had come. I had been scared when I found out I was pregnant. I didn't know how I would do it. But now, I was proud of what I had done. I had raised my son alone. I had worked hard, and I had made sure Daniel was happy. As I watched him play, I realized something important. It didn't matter what happened before. It didn't matter that Mark had left. What mattered was that I had Daniel. I was his mother. And that was all that mattered. Daniel was now 2 years old. He could walk and talk. He liked to play with balls and cars. He said small words like mama and thank you. Every day I watched him grow. He made me smile. He made me strong. I forgot how tired I was. His smile gave me energy. I still worked at the small store. I worked 5 days a week. It was not easy, but I needed the money. I paid rent. I bought food. I bought clothes for Daniel. Some days I was very tired. But when I got home, Daniel ran to me. He hugged me. He said, "Mama." That made everything okay. One evening, I was sitting on the floor with Daniel. We were building a small tower with toy blocks. He laughed when the blocks fell down. I laughed too. Then he looked at me and said, "Where is Papa?" I was quiet for a second. I did not know what to say. I looked at his little face. I said, "Papa is not here, baby, but Mama is here. I will always be here." He looked at me and smiled. He said, "Okay, Mama." Then he went back to playing. My heart felt heavy, but I stayed strong. I knew he would ask again one day, but for now, he was too young to know the full story. Weeks passed. Life was the same. Work, home, Daniel, sleep. Some days were good. Some days were hard. One day, I felt sick at work. I had a fever. My head hurt. I went home early, but I still had to cook. I still had to feed Daniel. I still had to clean. There was no one else. I was the only one. That night I cried in bed. Daniel was asleep. I looked at him. He was so peaceful. I said, "I'm sorry I can't give you more, but I promise I will never leave you." I kissed his head. Then I went to sleep. A few days later, something good happened. My boss at the store said I was doing a good job. She said she would give me more hours and a little more pay. I smiled. It was not much, but it helped. I could buy a new jacket for Daniel. I could buy better food. I started saving a little money every month. I put it in a small box at home. It was not a lot, but it made me feel safe. I told myself, one day I will move to a better place. One day Daniel will go to a good school. That thought gave me hope. One Sunday morning, I took Daniel to the park. It was sunny. There were other children playing. Daniel ran to the swings. I sat on a bench and watched him. Then a woman sat next to me. She smiled and said, "Your son is very cute." "Thank you," I said. "His name is Daniel." She said her name was Kate. Her daughter was playing too. Her name was Emma. We talked while the children played. Kate was kind. She asked where I lived and where I worked. I told her my story. Not all of it, just a little. She said, "I understand. I was alone too, a few years ago." I looked at her. She smiled softly. She said, "It's hard, but we keep going. For our children." I smiled back. I felt warm inside. It was nice to talk to someone who understood. That day, I felt a little less alone. We met again at the park, then again the next week. Our children played together. We talked more. I told her everything one day. I told her about Mark, about how he left, about how I raised Daniel alone. She listened. She did not judge me. She just said, "You are strong." That meant a lot to me. Time passed. Daniel turned 3. He went to a small school. I took him there in the morning before work. He was happy. He made new friends. He started to say more words. He learned songs. He brought home drawings. I put them on the wall. Every time I looked at those drawings, I smiled. I saw how far we had come. From nothing to something. From sadness to light. From pain to hope. One day, I saw Mark at the supermarket. He looked different. He looked older. He saw me and stopped. I looked at him and didn't know what to say. He walked over. "Lisa," he said. "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine." He looked nervous. Is Daniel okay?" I said, "He is happy. He is strong. He is kind." Mark nodded. He looked down. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know I was wrong." I didn't answer. I didn't feel angry. But I didn't feel sad either. I just felt calm. "You missed everything," I said. "His first word, his first step, his laugh. You missed all of it." Mark looked at me. He said, "Do you think he will want to see me?" I said, "Maybe one day, but not now. He doesn't even know you." He nodded again. "I understand. If you ever want to talk, here's my number." He gave me a small piece of paper. I took it, but I didn't look at it. I just said, "Goodbye, Mark." He walked away. I stood there for a moment. Then I put the paper in my bag and left the store. When I got home, I looked at Daniel. He was playing with his blocks. I sat next to him. He looked up and smiled. "Mama, come play," he said. I smiled back. "Yes, baby. I'm here." That night, I took the paper out of my bag. I looked at Mark's number. Then I tore it into small pieces and threw it away. We were doing fine. Daniel and me, we had each other. That was enough.